Your JavaScript runs one line at a time. It's single-threaded, but the network is slow. An API call takes hundreds of milliseconds. Reading a file takes even longer. If JavaScript waited for every slow operation to finish, your entire page would freeze. No scrolling, no clicking, nothing. That's why async exists. It lets JavaScript start a slow task, move on to other work, and come back when the result is ready. In this video, you'll learn callbacks and why they lead to callback hell. Promises, the modern way to handle async operations. Async and await, the cleanest syntax for async code. The event loop, how JavaScript actually manages all of this behind the scenes. And the fetch API for making real HTTP requests. By the end, TaskFlow will fetch data from a mock API with loading states, error handling, and retry logic. A callback is a function you pass to another function to be called later. That's it. You say, here's what to do when you're done. Set timeout takes a callback and a delay in milliseconds. Set timeout, arrow function, console.log done, 1000. After 1 second, the callback fires. Synchronous code runs line by line, top to bottom. Each line waits for the previous one. Asynchronous code doesn't wait. It registers a callback and moves on. The callback runs later when the operation completes. This works fine for one async operation, but what about 2, 3, 5? Each callback goes inside the previous one. Get user, then inside that callback get posts. Inside that callback get comments. Inside that get likes. The code shifts right with every level. It forms a pyramid shape. This is callback hell. Also called the pyramid of doom. It's hard to read, it's hard to debug. Error handling is a nightmare. Every level needs its own error check. If any callback forgets to handle errors, they silently disappear. Callback hell was the main reason promises were invented. A promise is an object that represents a future value. It has 3 states. Pending means the operation is still running. Fulfilled means it succeeded and has a result. Rejected means it failed and has an error. Once a promise settles, it can never change state again. To create a promise, use new promise with a function that receives resolve and reject. Call resolve with the value when it succeeds. Call reject with the error when it fails. Dot then handles the success case. It takes a callback that receives the resolved value. Dot catch handles errors. It catches any rejection in the chain. Dot finally runs no matter what. Success or failure finally always executes. Use it for cleanup like hiding loading spinners. Promise chaining is the real power. Each dot then returns a new promise. So you can chain them, fetch user dot then get posts dot then get comments dot then render. No nesting, no pyramid, just a flat chain. If any promise in the chain rejects, it skips to the nearest catch. Now the static methods. Promise.all takes an array of promises and waits for all of them. If anyone fails, the whole thing rejects. Use it when you need everything. Promise.race returns whichever promise settles first, success or failure. Use it for timeouts. Race your fetch against a timer. Promise.allSettled waits for all promises but never rejects. It gives you the status of each one, fulfilled or rejected. Promise.any returns the first promise that fulfills. It ignores rejections. It only rejects if every single promise rejects. Async and await are syntactic sugar over promises. They make async code look synchronous. Same behavior, cleaner syntax. Add the async keyword before a function. Inside that function, use await before any promise. Await pauses execution until the promise settles. Then it returns the value. Const response equals await fetch URL. Const data equals await response.json. No dot then, no callbacks. Just straight line code. For error handling, wrap your await calls in try catch. Try block, run the async operations. Catch block, handle any errors. Finally block, cleanup code that always runs. This is identical to dot, then dot catch, dot finally, but easier to read. You can use Promise.all with await too. Const results equals await. Promise.all, array of fetch 1, fetch 2, fetch 3. All 3 requests fire in parallel. Await waits for all of them. Promise.race with await. Const fastest equals await. Promise.race, array of fetch A, fetch B. Whichever finishes first wins. A common mistake is using await inside a for loop. That makes each request wait for the previous one. Sequential, not parallel. Use Promise.all with map instead. Const results equals await Promise.all, array.map, item, arrow fetch, item. All requests fire at once, much faster. JavaScript is single-threaded. It has one call stack. The call stack is where functions execute, one at a time, last in, first out. When you call a function, it goes on top of the stack. When it returns, it comes off the stack. But if JavaScript only has one stack, how does async work? The answer is the event loop. When you call setTimeout, the browser handles the timer, not JavaScript. When you call fetch, the browser handles the network request. These are web APIs. They run outside the call stack. When a web API finishes, it puts the callback into a queue. There are 2 queues, the task queue and the microtask queue. SetTimeout, setInterval, and DOM events go to the task queue. Promise.then, .catch, and .finally go to the microtask queue. The event loop checks, is the call stack empty? If yes, it first drains the entire microtask queue. Then it takes one task from the task queue and pushes it to the call stack. Microtasks always run before tasks. That's why Promise callbacks run before setTimeout. Console.log1, setTimeout 0, console.log2. Promise.resolve.then, console.log3, console.log4. The output is 1, 4, 3, 2. 1 and 4 are synchronous. They run first. 3 is a microtask. It runs next. 2 is a task. It runs last, even with a 0 delay. Let's build TaskFlow's data layer with real async patterns. First, a mock API function. It simulates a network request using promises. The function returns a new promise. Inside, setTimeout resolves with mock data after 500 milliseconds. It randomly rejects 20% of the time to simulate network errors. Next, a fetch tasks function using async await. It shows a loading state by setting is loading to true. Inside a try block, it awaits the mock API call. On success, it stores the tasks and clears the error state. In the catch block, it saves the error message. The finally block sets is loading to false, whether it succeeded or failed. Now retry logic. A fetch with retry function takes a URL and a max retries count defaulting to 3. It loops up to max retries times. Inside a try, it awaits fetch. If it succeeds, it returns the data immediately. If it fails, it checks if there are retries left. If yes, it waits using await new promise with setTimeout using exponential backoff. 1 second, then 2, then 4. If all retries fail, it throws the last error. Finally, loading multiple resources in parallel. Const results equals await Promise.all.settled, array of fetch tasks, fetch users, fetch projects. Each result has a status of fulfilled or rejected. We check each one and handle successes and failures independently. Let's recap what you learned. Callbacks. Functions passed to other functions, called when the work is done. Callback hell, nested callbacks that form a pyramid of doom. Promises, objects with 3 states: pending, fulfilled, rejected with then catch, and finally for handling results. Async await, syntactic sugar that makes async code look synchronous. The event loop, call stack, task queue, microtask queue, and why microtasks always run before tasks. and we built TaskFlow's data layer with fetch, loading states, error handling, and retry logic using every pattern from this video. In the next video, we'll cover ES modules and project structure, how to organize your code into clean, reusable modules. See you in the next one.